So the big question is, can Thursday make a high quality Pacific Northwest style boot at a cheaper price? Well, at least a logger, I should say. So I was on Reddit the other day, and not even the Thursday Reddit, and someone posted a link to the announcement of the Thursday Challenger boots. And it was interesting because there's immediate outrage, right? Oh, Thursday, that company can't manufacture boots worth nothing. Oh, they're full of cheap crap. But when you look into it, the Challenger actually, well, it challenges that notion. I thought we'd put together a quick unboxing video and maybe just talk a little bit about why I think this is actually a pretty big deal for Thursday and honestly the boot community as a whole. It's worth noting, I've never talked to Thursday outside of asking them some questions about their boots. I'm not affiliated with them. I bought all of these products with my own money. And like many people, I started with the Thursday Captain. It's just a great boot, honestly. I'm well aware of the pour-on insole. It's not a real cap toe. This is just sewn on there just to make it look nicer and such. I'm aware of the limitations of this, but you know what? I'm a concrete to desk worker. I do light, saw work and home fixer-upper activities. You can see me painting in my work boots. I work in my work boots. And even went on to grab, the Diplomats essentially because I like the affordability of Thursday like many people. And if you're coming from the sneaker world, like I was, dropping $400, $500 on a pair of footwear seems intimidating, right? These are a nice, interesting, and more affordable way closer to the sneaker world, comfort of the sneaker world, durability higher than the sneaker world, but maybe not as high as those, all natural leather components. But that's where the Challenger comes in. So Thursday, great introduction and honestly a gateway for many people to get into the boot world, particularly from Sneakerverse, which I think is a great thing. But once you have started buying leather shoes, at some point you start to realize, hey, what about some more of the heritage and old school ways that we used to make these boots? Well, that's where the Challenger boot actually is a really interesting spot in this market. Let's open this up together and take a look at this together because what they've promised is something that I'm kind of curious if they can deliver on. All right, here we go. Besides the opening it upside down, we're fine because honestly, when companies ship these, sometimes that happens anyways. Let's take a look inside. All right, so we shifted a few things around. A certificate of authenticity. Oh, and it's even sealed. Wow, they really did go all out for this. And at $350, that's pretty insane. Let me give you guys a better shot of this here. So it actually comes, I don't know what this is going to be. We got the Thursday Black Label brand. Quality guaranteed by. Interesting attempt. I don't know. I mean, there's no number. They say small batches, but when I've bought some rarer things, like when I used to play guitar, you typically have a serial number or something like that on that. That's probably in the boot, as many boot companies do, but usually it'll match the letter here. All right, let's take a look at these boots. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. So we actually have some Thursday Black Label bags that come with it as well. Kind of like in a gold embroidery. They really did go all out on trying to make sure that you felt like you had a premium experience. Now, I was one of the launch orderers of this. So at this point in times of recording, I don't know how long it's going to take me to edit this. There weren't many reviews out. But you can see this has never been worn. There are no creases in this. And if you are unfamiliar with CF Stead leather, this is actually my second boot in a Rambler. The first was a red russet Rambler. And, I'll show some B-roll footage of that. But this right here, I just love the dark marbling, especially on the toe. Look at this. You can see just the gorgeous marbling on this toe here. And this is actually a very interesting leather. So so as I was talking about the CF Stead Rambler leathers, they make these in a lot. This is the stone leather. Like I said, I had the red russet, but they've got squirrel leather. They've got, smoke ramblers. They've got a coach rambler. They've got all these different ramblers. But what is this Rambler leather exactly? It is a chrome tanned leather per the CF Stead website. And you will see that it just has a lot of natural textures. It's finished actually on the flesh side, which makes it interesting because you can actually see some of the veining, stressing going on from the shrunkenness of this leather. And it's got a nice wax blend that it's kind of finished with. It gives it this, I don't know, it's a depth of color that you really have to see in person. You get, lots of hints of the dark coffee, maybe a little bit of graying along with the darker brown, rich, I would say dirt colors. It's going to be a tougher leather to break in. Like, it is a little bit thicker. I think they sell it at 1.8 to 2 millimeters. And that says a lot because the thickness is definitely thicker than a Captain. So for those of you that have never worn any other boots besides Thursdays, don't fear. If they will break in, they might just take a little bit longer and they might have a little bit more of a toughness to them. There's no surprises with Thursday, which is one of the things that I appreciate is the cutaway, right? When they show you the cutaway, you can see that thick leather shank. You can see the leather insole as opposed to the pour-on that you normally get. And also the eyelets, right? Here we have 6 eyelets as opposed to the usual 5 with 2 speed hooks and then 1 at the top. But what's different from this and a lot of the other Thursday boots that I just found fascinating, we've got double stitch down construction. Now, some of you may be really into the different welting systems that boot makers can use. Well, let's put it this way. This is going to make this, there's no place you can go that this boot won't take you. Well, except weddings, of course. But in terms of the elements, those aren't what's going to stop you too. Because when you look at it, as opposed to like the Thursday proprietary blend that you get sometimes, we've got the Vibram V100, a workhorse, a standard in a lot of the boot world that I think that this is just fantastic to see them using well-known, tried and true methods. They spared no expense where they said, what's the highest amount of leather we can give them? What's the thickest outsole that we could give them that would give them the tread that will stop them from going anywhere? And also look at this heel here. 22 millimeters of stacked leather for the Woodsman heel. And I think when I looked at the logger page on Thursday, they called it a logger heel as opposed to the Woodsman heel. Some people have speculated that this is the same last as the logger boot from Thursday. And I did email them, and it's funny because their customer service doesn't even know yet. They're like, hey, it's a brand new boot. We don't even know what last they're using. I'm sure that'll come out soon, but in terms of what does this last provide in terms of fit for your feet is actually what I think is probably going to be the most appealing once I get to try these on, because when I looked at it, my foot, let's get into the fit, shall we? The fitment. Okay, we got a tissue paper for the shaft, tissue paper for the toe box, but you've got a fully gusseted tongue. All right, let's try these bad boys on and see what we think of the senior artisans at Thursday and how they did. Okay. Whew. I'm not going to lie, I was a little bit nervous about these. So we'll talk about here with the fit. I am a 10E barefoot, arguably double E, and 10.5 with my thick socks that I wear with boots on. E for width. Just depends. What happens is I kind of have high arches, but what's weird is I walk like I have no arches. My toes splay incredibly far out. So they might measure at a 10E, but when I'm walking, it's the equivalent of a double E. So I've got kind of a weird situation here. My toes are widest at the toe box. Okay, they fan out when I walk particularly. So even though when I'm standing, I don't necessarily need the double E. I kind of need it when I walk. So when I buy shoes, which is another thing to talk about with Thursday, is their sizing being compared to sneakers if we're going to make premium, high quality boots that are going to compete with some of the, the Pacific Northwest, I'm not a fireman. I don't work logging out in the West, so I can't comment on the build in that regard. But if we're competing with that in all but DNA and but name, you got to get off the sneaker sizing, right? Let's get to the Brannock, because sneakers are so misleading, because I can get like an 11, I can get an 11 and a half sometimes in Adidas and Nike, but I'll get a 10E, right? Because the width matters. So since they don't offer any different widths, at least right now with the launch of these challengers, I went ahead and went with my actual sneaker size, an 11. Because I do size up to an 11 and a half sometimes, just depending. And these actually fit perfect. So I'm ordering my sneaker size, I guess. I usually order an 11 in those types of shoes, for example. But I think it would be better if we could get to our Brannock sizing, because I know that the 10 double E essentially jumps up to an 11. It's typically what it works like for most. But here's the takeaway. Regardless of my fit, right, we have a wide, generous toe box, is what I would say. And my heel, if I get this really tight, it feels locked in. Oh, this is frustratingly good feeling. Usually, I was almost kind of expecting it to not feel that great because, with Thursdays, it pour-on insole is typically a lot of what gives them a great comfort and fit right out of the box, that I would expect the all-leather insole to kind of be, I don't know, I imagine it being a challenge for some people, not all. This is probably I'm going to say my 11th or 12th pair of boots. I should probably go upstairs and count when my wife is not here, at least. But breaking in a pair of boots is something that we boot lovers love doing because it makes it ours. And I can already feel that these actually feel fantastic. In terms of hot spots, I don't know where I'm going to get them on these. I can't tell if I'm going to get one on the heel. It doesn't feel like it. The toe box actually feels great, surprisingly. And I'm actually quite impressed with these so far. Let's get a couple of in-feet shots and walk around as I talk about some of the components of the shoe. Because when you look at the stats on these, an 8mm midsole along with the 22mm stacked leather outsole, you've got the full leather counter, and that's not fake. There are 2 pieces of leather in the front, as well as the full leather heel. It's insane for $350 for a premium CF Stead leather, what you're getting with this shoe. And the Vibram, they didn't even cheapen out on the outsole. They really went all out on this boot. That I think it's a very big challenge to those $500, even $600 shoemakers to see that. Honestly, I don't even know how they're making this boot and making a profit. It's kind of insane the value that you're getting it, but I need to temper my excitement, right? I think we all get excited about boots, but what are the negatives for this? When we're looking at the aesthetics, it is more rugged, right? Which might be what you're going for. When you look at the stitching, these might be their senior artisans, and maybe you can't get it more perfect than this with the handmade aspect. Some people may not like this. I think it adds character personally, but I'm just trying to come up with what are the parts that people won't like about this. I don't know about the long-term wearability because I just got them, but from an initial reaction, wow, it's hard not to get excited about this if you're a boot nerd, to get this type of a value in such a package. It's quite amazing. So as suspected, the toe box feels amazing. There's definitely a lot more room. I can't compare it to the Logger last, the 1776 last from Thursday, because I haven't purchased them, but it's more generous than the Captain, and for sure they're Chelsea. I tried what is it called? Not the Cavalier, not the Legend, whatever their third Chelsea is. I tried that one on, and the toe box was extremely tight for an 11, and it would be too loose around the heel, and the seat and collar was okay. With this last, whatever it is, when Thursday finally tells us, the toe box is great. It's definitely spacious, and you could do a lot of work in these. I probably will do work in these because that's kind of why I buy these rugged boots. Definitely a casual beater, not worried about going out and stomping around in the woods or in the pumpkin patches and stuff like that. The heel actually feels good. I've purchased some shoes before where the heel was a little bit loose. This definitely locks in, and you can see a little bit of a curvature around the back where we could see that it's definitely hugging the heel. I'm hoping that that leather continues to break in. Right now, no real tough hot spots. I would say around the anchor, you can feel a little bit of rubbing as it breaks in, but that's expected. The Rambler leather is a tough leather. It's not to the point where it should intimidate you, but you should expect some break-in period to go in around it. And I would definitely say sliding these shoes on with this pull tab made it so much easier. You can see that it's kind of lined on the inside too, but it was a really comfortable, and it wasn't difficult with the pull tab and such. And as far as the collar goes, it's a good fit, but fit isn't a sign of quality. I'm just trying to describe, I have wide toes, a decently sized arch with, I wouldn't say a high instep, but I definitely have this one bone that pokes out. I've got no problems. My heel is average. Fits me perfectly, and I've got really skinny baby chicken ankles, and you know the sides aren't touching. It's still got some room, and honestly that's more than some companies will give me. So hopefully that gives you an idea of what it'll fit like for your foot. But in terms of first impressions, this is definitely a boot that I think is going to fit into my wardrobe and lifestyle well. All right, so we're going to zoom out here and continue to zoom in on these shoes. Nobody cares about me. I'm not that special. But they seem to fill a special niche that is not out there today, right? If you bought your first intro to Thursday, which I think they really do a great job, immediate comfort for those not used to the boot world, you get used to it and you start to see, oh, wow, the value of boots is great. They get better with age. You know, with sneakers, the first day you wear them is the best day they're going to look, and they look worse after that. So the initial $400 to $500 range shoes can be rather intimidating for footwear. But now, you know, after you've done that, or even if you're looking to jump in, $350 is, for this leather at least, I know that they got the shinky. It's not as intimidating. It's a little bit more intimidating that it's unlikely to be your first boot. But once you start to see the value and you're like, hey, I want all leather components. I want a natural leather toe stiffener or heel counter. I want the leather insole and I want to break that in. Thursday didn't have that option before. This is fantastic that they now have that option. It is a really interesting boot that we'll see how it breaks in over time. If you're looking to find my impressions as I start to wear it, I don't know. Would you guys want like a 1 month, a 6 month review of the video? I'm definitely open to that. Let me know what you guys are looking for from the channel. Subscribe if you haven't already. I'd certainly appreciate it. So if one of the other leathers have caught your eye in terms of that shinky or in terms of the evergreen leathers, which I haven't heard much about, you know, let me know what you guys pick up. I'd love to hear your guys' reaction to this boot in the comments down below. Thank you for spending time today. Peace.